If you are wondering how you can grow your coaching business in the last half of 2024, then this is going to be the show for you. We're going to talk all about things that you can do, ways to focus yourself now that we have 4 months left of 2024. If you want to get more clients, grow your income, grow your coaching business, let's dive in. Hi there, welcome to the Wholehearted Business Show. I'm Laura. I help health and life coaches get more clients, grow their income, and live the best lives while they do it. And today on the show, we're talking all about how to grow your coaching business in the last part of 2024. As I record this, it is pretty much the very end of August. We are about to go into September. This is like one of my favourite times of year. I really love autumn, and I always just find there's a certain back to school, fresh start energy that comes with September without the same kind of pressure that comes with January. So it's just a really lovely time of year. You know, if this resonates for you, then that's great. If it doesn't, then don't worry about it. Maybe it's just not your favourite time of year, then that's absolutely fine. But if it is, and if you are feeling like, actually, you know, we've got 4 months left of 2024, I want to see some progress in terms of my coaching business, I want to see some things starting to shift, then that's what we're going to talk about in today's episode of the show. And if all of that sounds really good to you, then you're not going to want to miss my new live program. So starting on Tuesday the 9th of September, running for 2 weeks, I'm running a new live program where I'm going to be helping you. Basically, if you have the question, how do I put myself out there as a coach and start getting clients? This is going to be the mini program for you. It's basically all arranged around a live training that I'm going to be doing on Tuesday the 10th of September at 2 p.m. UK time. That's 9 a.m. Eastern time. And you can come along, take part in that live training or watch the replay within those 2 weeks. And together we're going to create a marketing plan for your coaching business that feels really, really exciting, that feels really aligned, and that's designed to help you get more coaching clients. So do come along for that. It's only £5 or $7 for the full 2 weeks. It's going to run inside a Facebook group. And like I say, you'll get access to the training, whether you come live or whether you watch on replay. But it's going to be a fantastic 2 weeks. So if you want to get more clients, grow your business, boost your income, make the most of these last few months of the year, and you really want to get your head around marketing, that big question, and it's a question that I have quite a lot from people, is how do I actually start putting myself out there as a coach? If you feel overwhelmed by all the different choices, if you feel like what you're doing isn't strategic, then this is going to be the program for you. It's only £5, $7 for 2 weeks. Come and join us. It's going to be awesome. I will leave the link, wholeheartedlylaura.com/workshop if you want to join us for that. And it's going to be awesome. So back into the things that you can do to help you grow your business in the last part of 2024. The first thing I think is really, really helpful is to look back on any plans that you already created at the start of the year. The likelihood is that you will have maybe achieved some of those things and not achieved other things. Maybe those goals aren't relevant anymore. Like I've talked about this in my own business. You know, I set a really wonderful plan together at the start of the year. Come kind of like March, April, everything just, nothing was quite right. It just wasn't fitting in the same way, and completely made over that plan. It's okay for your plans to change. So either look back at your old plans, look at what goals are still relevant, or you can just start afresh and look at these last few months of the year if you like. This is a really nice time of year. It's a little bit longer than a full quarter. You know, you've got 4 months here to get to grips with. Obviously, December's kind of one of those months where I always feel like the last kind of 2 weeks of December just disappear into the ether, and that's okay. But you've got a good amount of time, really juicy kind of time of year. You know, people are interested, you know, they're switched on, that you know, they're wanting to do things that are going to improve their lives. Like, this is a great time of year to be selling your services. So a great thing that you can do to begin with is to just set a goal, set a key goal or a key intention, like whatever you need to call this for you to feel good about it, but set some kind of outcome that you want to achieve. And that can be a very concrete physical outcome, like I want to earn this amount of money by then, or I want to grow my email list by this number of people by then. Or it can be more of a intention around how you feel. It can be based around, you know, I want to feel like I have more freedom by then. I want to feel more confident by then. It can be whatever you need it to be, but set some kind of focus. I think there's a lot of power when we create a focus that is going to help pull us through. And again, none of this is to say that this is going to be set in stone, even just for the 4 months. You know, it can shift and change, but I think initially starting with that focus can be really, really powerful. Once you've set that focus, it's time to think about how are you going to measure your progress towards that particular goal or intention. And this is where you get into something called metrics. And these are basically like What are you going to measure that is going to tell you how you are progressing towards that particular goal? Now, again, this depends on whether or not your goal is more of a physical, concrete thing, like income, number of subscribers, website traffic, etc. Or it can be different, obviously, if your goal is more about how you feel, or it's a softer outcome, if you like, still very, very valid, but perhaps a softer outcome. So think about what kind of things you would want to see shift as you progress towards that you can measure. Because when you are measuring these things, like, again, even for me, sometimes I like really push against measuring some of these numbers, and it doesn't always feel good. But when we do, like, this is how we catch ourselves. And, I'm certainly one of those people who can spend ages working on something and just kind of like nicely going along in something, but actually not getting the progress that I want to get because I'm not actually measuring that I'm actually progressing towards things. So when you do actually start to measure those things and really check in on a regular basis, like, how am I progressing towards those things? Are they actually going in the direction that I want them to go in? It's kind of like calling yourself on your own bullshit. That's the way that I see it for myself, is when I look at those things. So examples of key metrics might be the number of client inquiries that you get. It could be the number of people who join your email list. It could be the number of sales that you make. Like, you look at what your goal or intention is and think about, what would I want to see start to change as I progress towards that goal? And just set yourself some key metrics that you're going to measure. If it's like a more, personal kind of feelings based one, then think about what that's going to look like. Like, what kind of things might you be doing in your life differently? Like, how are things going to change? And decide what you're going to measure. And how are you going to measure it? You can measure things like how you feel about yourself, or how you feel about your day to day. You can create systems that are going to help you do that and help you see any shifts. So think about how you're going to measure all of those things. That can be really, really helpful. And then once you have your kind of goal or key intention and the metrics, that the way you're going to measure those things, then it's about thinking about the actions. Like, what actions do you have to take that are going to make those numbers or those things shift? Like, whatever the shift is that you need to create, what is going to help create that shift? Now, this is really interesting when it comes to business, because sometimes we've got a sense of what the actions need to be, but we don't know exactly what they have to be or what in order they have to be done, because it's a strategic thing. It's something that we have to learn from somewhere, so that we know that actually, if I do these things, that number is going to shift, or if I do these things, that result is going to come from that. That is something that sometimes we don't always know. And again, that's why one of the reasons I'm running this workshop is because hopefully together we can help create some focus for you around, particularly around marketing when it comes to your coaching business and putting yourself out there. But it's really helpful to think about, even if it is just based on what you intuitively feel to begin with, even if it's about any learning that you've done, any courses or programs that you've done, and setting some actions that you feel are well placed to help you get the results that you want and help see those things shift. Then it's really about looking at when those actions need to happen, and are they things that happen on a regular basis? Like, I often talk about, we have tasks that are like regular ongoing tasks that we need to do consistently to help our businesses grow. And then we've got other things that are more project based, which have a start date and an end date. So for example, the Wholehearted Business Show is something that I do week in and week out. It is a consistent way that I show up in my marketing. However, if I ran a bundle, or if I ran, for example, the workshop that I'm going to run next week, that's a project. It has a start date and an end date. And it's really useful to think about what your actions are and what they need to look like in relation to that, so that you can plan your time out, because none of us unfortunately have an infinite amount of time to play with. So you want to think about what actions are actually doable. Another thing to consider when you look at these actions is what actually feels good. I've said this a million times and I will say it until the cows come home, but when you are doing things that you enjoy and that feel good, you will get more done, you will be more productive, you will get better results, because you are showing up with a completely different energy. If you are doing stuff that feels like pushing shit up a hill, it is going to be hard and you're just not going to get the same results. So it's fine to, look at what it is that you're doing. And this is, again, nothing's ever black and white, is it? And sometimes we have to call ourselves out on our own bullshit, and sometimes there are things that we can do that we are just a bit blocked around, that we're not doing, that we could be doing, that we know is going to get a result, but for some reason we're not doing it. Sometimes we have to look at that, but generally speaking, like, doing the things that we enjoy is just a lot quicker, a lot simpler, a lot easier. Often it's the stories that we tell ourselves around the things that we are doing that create more of the issue than the actual things themselves. So for example, if you've got a story in your head saying, oh, well, if I do this posting on Instagram, it's not going to get me clients, even though I enjoy doing it. It's not going to get me clients because Instagram's a bin fire at the moment or whatever. There might be evidence out there that suggests that Instagram is not the best place to be growing your business right now. However, if you really enjoy it, that is a story that you're telling yourself. And no matter where you are at in your business, there will be examples that will either affirm or, show it not to be true. And you can choose which you decide to focus on. There are people who are killing it on Instagram right now. And if you enjoy Instagram and if you want to put all of your eggs in the Instagram basket, then that is your prerogative to do that. And I think if you really enjoy showing up there, then you will actually be fine. It's kind of, looking at these different elements so that you can decide what is actually going to make the most sense for you. And then once you've got your key goal or intention in place, you know what you're going to measure to see how you're progressing towards that. You've got some actions in place. You're going to want to just check that it all makes sense in terms of the amount of time that we've got. Like, it is a nice amount of time, but it is still only like kind of 3 to 4 months that we're working with. Make sure that whatever you've got is realistic, that it's doable, that it's achievable, and also think about what little wins you're going to celebrate on the way. This is such an underrated part of running a business, but it really, really helps. Like, how are you going to celebrate the achievements that you do make? Because again, we carry like a negative bias. So we will see all the things that we are not doing. We will really know that we are all the things that we should be doing that we're not doing. We'll focus on those things, but really try and think about, actually, what am I doing? Like, how can I celebrate those small wins? How can I really focus on the things that I am achieving? And that is such a nice way to shift your energy around your business as we go into this last part of the year. Another thing to think about with all of this, and this came up at a business conference I was at in June called the Atomicon that I've spoken about on the show before. And it was about going for the really big, scary goals instead of just kind of thinking about the little goals. And this is just the kind of final thing that I wanted to leave you guys with. And I thought was a really, really interesting concept. And what Andrew and Pete talked about, and I'll link to them because they're really fun guys to follow around all things online business. What they talked about was that what a lot of people do in business is they kind of like try and push over the small goals. They try and kind of work towards these baby steps and just do the small things. But actually, when you look at what a really big goal is that has like, when you achieve that really big goal, what kind of the cascade of positive things that happen when you achieve that big goal, how powerful that can be. And so, for example, it might be that you are, wanting to be a guest on people's podcasts, and you are at the moment kind of, pitching some smaller podcasts when you know that you've got like a massive goal to be on this huge famous podcast in your particular niche or industry. And the idea of going for that feels really, really scary. But what would happen if you actually, instead of like trying to knock these kind of like small dominoes down, you actually went for the big domino and you put all of your effort into trying to get on this one particular like massive podcast. This was the example I think that they used actually in their presentation. What would happen if you just really went after that big podcast? And it might feel like a really scary out of your comfort zone step. But again, another thing that I took away from that particular business conference was that confidence isn't something that you have to have before you take action. Confidence is what comes as a result of taking action. And this is something that's really, really stuck with me. And I think it's a fantastic thing to remember. We think that we have to become confident in something before we actually do the thing, but actually it's the other way around. Our confidence grows when we take action. And often I think confidence as well is linked to like keeping promises to yourself. When you say that you're going to do something and you do it, that builds your confidence. So if you are thinking about, what can I do in this last part of 2024 to really grow my business? And if you feel up for it, there's nothing wrong with actually picking like a really big, slightly scary goal or slightly scary intention and actually really, really going after that. Because even in the action of going after that, it's likely that you're going to knock over some of those smaller dominoes in the process of doing that anyway. So it's a really, really great thing to remember when you think about what can I do to grow, because it is, like I say, it is, it's not a full year's worth of time, but you can create so much impact even in these few months. Maybe your big scary thing is to run a bundle or a summit. Maybe your big scary thing is to pitch that big podcast. Maybe your big scary thing is to, try and get some press and try and get featured in a magazine or a newspaper. Like whatever it is, maybe, for some of you, now is the right time. I really do also think that part of this conversation is about you knowing yourself and what else you've got going on in your life, and whether or not now is the time to put that focus into your business. And it's going to be different for everybody, but really thinking about what those big things are, those big dominoes that you could potentially knock over between now and December, that can be a really positive thing as well. And then before I go, just to round up some of these tips, we've talked about big goals or intentions, like there can be small goals, but there can be those big dominoes if you want to. We've talked about metrics and measuring your progress towards them, whether they are very tangible physical goals or whether they are more about how you feel in your business, because they're just as valid as well. We've talked about getting clear on the actions, thinking about whether or not your actions that you take are consistent week in, week out actions, or if they are more project based. Also think about your relationship to those type of ways of working as well, because that's a really interesting one. We've talked about making sure that whatever it is that you're working on is achievable in the time that we have. We've talked about the big domino effect, whether or not you want to knock over that big domino and go for something bigger. That's totally up to you, whether or not it's the right time to do that. And then just to kind of finish off, I wanted to just touch on, like, these are like the key things that we want to be thinking about. If you have got the goal to grow your coaching business, and when we talk about growth in our coaching business, generally speaking, we are talking about income. We're talking about all the things that kind of happen to create more income, and also impact. So when I'm thinking about growth, I'm thinking about income and impact. And you get those from working with more people, working with more clients. And that's either you work with people, a smaller number of people to a greater depth, or you work with a larger number of people. That's totally fine. And what tends to drive those results is more people becoming aware of who you are, which brings us back to the marketing piece, which again is why I would very much encourage you, if you feel like you just need a bit of a refresher on marketing, if you're brand new to marketing, if you've got that big question, how do I put myself out there as a coach, come and join the workshop that I'm running in September. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to create your marketing plan. Come along to that workshop. Again, wholeheartedlylaura.com/workshop. And I'll help you do that. I'll help you put that together. So the marketing's a big part of that, getting out there, being visible, but doing so with a strategic underpinning is really, really important. Also, you want to have the right offers. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but when it comes to growth, those things are going to help drive it, like the marketing and the being visible and growing your audience and community, your email list, all of those things. Those are things that, by the most part, when you do those things, your business will grow. So it's going to be really helpful, that workshop. So come along for that. If you are thinking, like, how do I grow my coaching business in the last part of 2024? That workshop's going to be a big help, just getting started with that. So yeah, I hope that's been helpful. I really wish you all the best for the last part of 2024. How exciting. Like I say, I mean, this is my time of the year. I love it. I absolutely love September. I love the autumn. I love how everything feels. It's just like there's a shift in the energy that feels really, really good. So I'm very, very excited, and I hope you guys are too. So like I say, come and join me for that workshop. It's going to be wonderful. We start on Monday the 9th of September. Come along and join in. It's going to be awesome. And yeah, I really hope that's been helpful. I hope whatever your goals are for your coaching business, big or small, everything's valid, tangible and intangible, more feelings based, whatever it is. If you are taking action, if you are showing up to grow your coaching business, I wish you all the best of luck. And like I say, continue to join in with the Wholehearted Business Show, because I will continue to share more amazing, helpful tips when it comes to growing your health or life coaching business. And I will see you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.